Late one afternoon, high above the northern Arabian Sea, two Iranian Su-35s illuminate their fire control radars, locking directly onto the USS Abraham Lincoln and its escort ships. They are right on the edge of one of the world's most vital oil routes. Tensions in this corridor have often brought the region to the brink of disaster, but this particular radar lock triggers something different. A step too far, met with immediate American readiness. What unfolds next transforms a reckless gamble into a major miscalculation, with consequences reverberating far beyond the cockpit. This is an event rarely seen outside military circles, a grave error echoing through strategy, diplomacy, and human lives. Welcome to Border Watch Daily, where we analyze the flashpoints and strategies shaping our world. Each day, more than 1/5 of the global oil supply transits through a narrow strait just 30 kilometers wide, the Strait of Hormuz. This choke point connects the Persian Gulf's oil fields to global markets, making it one of the most strategically sensitive locations on the planet. Any disruption here sends shockwaves through economies from Asia to Europe. This is precisely why the USS Abraham Lincoln and its carrier strike group are rarely far from these waters. The carrier's presence isn't merely a display of military might. It's a clear signal to allies and adversaries alike that the world's most vital shipping lanes remain open, regardless of the threat. Routine patrols in this region are, in fact, anything but routine. Iranian officials view the arrival of a carrier as a direct challenge to their influence. For Tehran, the ability to project force near Hormuz is a matter of national pride and regime security. Over the years, Iranian commanders have ordered fast attack craft to shadow U.S. vessels, conducted flyovers with aging F-4 and F-14 fighters, and sent drones close enough for U.S. radars to capture every detail. Each encounter is a message, sometimes for Washington, sometimes for the Iranian public watching state television. The U.S. Navy's mission is twofold. First, to deter any attempt to close the strait. Second, to reassure partners of continued oil supply. During a typical deployment, the Abraham Lincoln operates with a full air wing, dozens of FA, 18 Super Hornets, E-2D, Hawkeyes for early warning, and electronic warfare aircraft, escorted by Aegis destroyers like the Bainbridge and the Mason. The strike group forms a mobile fortress, ready to defend against air, sea, or subsurface threats. Proximity breeds tension. At its closest, the carrier strike group can operate just 185 kilometers from the Iranian coastline, well within range of Iranian airfields and missile batteries. From the Iranian side, close interceptions and approaches are commonplace, typically involving 2 to 4 jets at a time. These are not random provocations, but calculated moves to test U.S. responses, signal their resolve, and shape the national narrative. Each time a U.S. carrier sails these waters, the world watches, knowing that a single miscalculation could threaten not only ships and pilots, but also the stability of global energy markets. Such is the backdrop to every encounter in the northern Arabian Sea, a place where geography, energy, and military power converge, and where the Abraham Lincoln's presence is both a shield and a statement. It is within this volatile environment that the USS Abraham Lincoln and its escorts form a moving wall of steel and sensors. Flight deck operations continue, and early warning aircraft scan the horizon as fast-moving contacts approach the carrier strike group. Suddenly, a handful of Iranian fighters switch to fire control radar mode, locking onto one of the carrier's escorts. This is a clear escalation of intent. Tension skyrockets. The carrier strike group shifts to a defensive posture. Combat air patrols prepare to intercept, and missile batteries are on standby. A crucial revelation awaits. Discover just how close both sides came to open confrontation, how many missiles and jets entered mutual destruction range, and how this incident concluded without open warfare, yet not without significant consequences. Stay with us for a full analysis of the tactics, timing, and the unique miscalculation that almost tipped this situation into a full-blown war. Why does a U.S. carrier operate here? To protect commercial shipping, deter threats against merchant traffic, reassure regional partners, and uphold freedom of navigation. The significance of the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's busiest oil choke points, means any military incident here carries outsized political impact. From the Iranian perspective, there's a history of close interceptions and aggressive signaling, using flyovers and radar locks to project their resolve at relatively low cost. It's important to clarify that this scenario is a hypothetical composite based on known interaction patterns and not an assertion of a specific real event. In terms of regional posture and forces involved, the USS Abraham Lincoln acts as a floating air base and command node with over 60 fighters and support aircraft in its air wing. Early warning aircraft patrol at altitude, carrier-borne fighters maintain a perimeter combat air patrol, and surface escorts provide multi-layered missile defense. The group typically includes 4 to 6 Aegis destroyers and cruisers armed with SM-2 and SM-6 missiles, along with electronic warfare and data link networks. On the Iranian side, the tactical picture involves 2 to 4 fighters operating in pairs, launched from bases near Bandar Abbas or Jask, increasingly including longer-range Su-35 jets. Distances and timelines are crucial. A 370-kilometer patrol area compresses into decisive ranges within minutes, and approaches within 50 kilometers of escorts become highly dangerous. A sudden spike on the radar warning receiver shakes the combat information center. This isn't background noise. It's the unmistakable signature of a fire control radar, designating a U.S. ship or jet as a target. The distinction is critical. A search radar sweeps the sky broadly, but a fire control radar narrows its beam and locks onto a target with intent. For the Abraham Lincoln's crew, this shift from a silent sweep to a targeted lock makes the difference between routine and a potential firefight. The carrier's defense is built on layers, each designed to buy precious seconds and keep threats at bay. The outer ring extends for hundreds of kilometers, guarded by E-2D Hawkeye early warning aircraft. Flying high above the fleet, their radars reach beyond the horizon, detecting contacts at distances where the human eye sees only empty sky. When a fast contact appears, the Hawkeye transmits its position, speed, and altitude across the strike group in less than a second. On the Combat Information Center screen, the first tracks appear, showing the Iranian flight's altitude, speed, and closing rate. Aegis destroyers and cruisers, equipped with Spy-1 and Spy-6 radars, track the contact and stand ready with SM-2 and SM-6 missiles, capable of engaging targets long before they threaten the formation. The middle layer belongs to the fighters. F.A. 18 Super Hornets on combat air patrol are vectored toward incoming threats. Their role is interception, to get close enough to challenge, warn, or, if ordered, shoot down an approaching jet. Electronic warfare aircraft like the EA-18G Growler add another dimension, jamming enemy radars and disrupting missile guidance. Inside the final ring, closing weapon systems, CIWS, and rolling airframe missiles, RAM, form the last barrier. Here, decisions are measured in seconds. Anything that slips through the outer layers faces a wall of rapid fire and short-range interceptors. Every layer is designed to overlap, creating a net that leaves little room for error and even less for a hostile aircraft hoping to surprise a carrier strike group. The moment a fire control radar spike hits the carrier's warning receivers, the countdown begins. Every second counts. The Combat Information Center shifts from calm coordination to a battle rhythm. Voices sharpen and orders become terse. In the air, F, A. A-team pilots hear the urgent tone in their headsets, a sound etched into muscle memory. On the bridge, the carrier's commanding officer weighs options that could mean the difference between deterrence and catastrophe, knowing that a single misstep could trigger missile launches in both directions. From first detection to possible engagement, the timeline shrinks to less than a minute. The E-2D Hawkeye transmits the hostile lock to every ship and fighter via the Link 16 digital backbone. Weapons officers on the Aegis destroyers stand ready, fingers hovering over consoles, awaiting the final order. Rules of engagement require positive identification and a chain of warnings, but a fire control lock is as close to a hostile act as it gets. Warnings are issued on the guard frequency in clear English and Farsi. The Iranian pilots know exactly what they are hearing. One more notch, and the situation could turn kinetic. Data links share tracks between ships and aircraft, enabling coordinated interceptions and deconfliction of fire. Iranian tactics aim to probe and intimidate, while U.S. tactics focus on escalation, control, and options short of lethal force. The rules of engagement are clear. The priority is to avoid miscalculation while defending the force. The escalation ladder ranges from radio calls to fighter interception, non-lethal warning maneuvers, and electronic countermeasures, all the way to lethal force as a last resort. Commanders buy time by using warnings, chaff, and decoys, and calculated maneuvers to create space for political direction. In this scenario, the initial interception follows standard geometry, with visual signals used to warn and query an approaching fighter. The lock-on to an escort vessel prompts U.S. fighters to close in, aiming to break the lock and assert control. The destroyers shift to high alert, preparing missile firing solutions. The Iranian miscalculation. The pilots underestimate radar coverage and missile envelopes, entering an area where U.S. interceptors and SM-6 ranges overlap. Critical moment. Commanders decide to demonstrate lethal capability without firing, forcing the Iranian flight to disengage and retreat. Why was this lock-on a grave error? For tactical reasons, the lock-on telegraphs intent and removes ambiguity, placing the Iranian jets inside defensive envelopes where they are at risk. The electronic and sensor advantage. The carrier strike group's network can track the target and coordinate responses faster than small flight pairs can react. The political risk. A single missile or misinterpreted maneuver could have triggered retaliatory strikes and a dangerous regional spiral. There are historical parallels and real-world near-miss incidents. Brief references to known patterns of U.S. Iran encounters in the Gulf and Strait of Hormuz include dangerous intercepts, drone shootdowns, and harassment by small boats. The frequency is noteworthy. U.S. Navy logbooks show numerous close intercepts over the past decade. Most end without shots fired, but all carry risks. Lessons learned from previous incidents. Better communications, clearer interception protocols, and enhanced situational awareness reduce, but do not eliminate, the danger. In the cockpit of an Iranian Su-35, the lead pilot watches his radar paint the U.S. carrier, fully aware that every move is tracked recorded, and analyzed. He has flown these intercepts before, but the power of the new radar tempts him to push closer. The air is heavy with risk. American fighters close in. Their own radars are locked and ready to fire if ordered. The carrier captain must make a decision in less than 60 seconds, balancing self-defense with the knowledge that a missile launch could ignite a regional war. For both sides, the margin of error is measured in heartbeats. Immediate consequences: no shots were exchanged. The Iranian flight retreats. Diplomatic notes are exchanged. Regional tensions escalate for several days. Tactical takeaways: clear rules of engagement, robust data link coverage, and a visible defensive posture prevented escalation. Strategic takeaways: the Gulf remains a flashpoint where small errors can have outsized consequences, and both sides must carefully manage their communication. In conclusion, a radar lock-on against a carrier strike group is not merely provocative. It's a dangerous gamble that can rapidly escalate. This composite scenario demonstrates how technology, timing, and a single error in judgment can bring modern forces to the brink. Tensions in the Strait of Hormuz remain extremely high. 20% of the world's oil transits through these waters every day. Each encounter between rival militaries is a test of nerves, rules, and technology. In an era of instant escalation, a single miscalculation could still redraw the map. What are your thoughts on escalation control and carrier defense? What would you do at the controls? Share your comments below, like the video, and subscribe to Border Watch Daily for more in-depth analyses.